So once again, going to portrait. And this one is going to be, we're going to use a little bit of watercolor. So for our first kind of exercise, this is a different one where we are going to bring in just a little bit of a bigger brush. I'm going to select a color. And the color could be really anything. Could be your favorite color. But because it's a portrait, you may want to go with the nice, warm, orange, reddish, yellowish, or earth tone color. I am going to pick a blue color, since blue happens to be one of my favorite colors. And what do I want to do here? Now, I have just enough water and watercolor on my brush. Now, I should mention that the key here is going to be watercolor consistency. So let me go ahead and show you that on my palette here. This is my clean palette. So if I bring color to my palette, the more water I add, the more the consistency loosens up. And now I have something very diluted, something obviously much lighter in value, and something that could actually, if I move it, it just drips all over. So as I add more pigment, notice that this is just pigment directly from the well. That one is not going to drip as much. But consistency-wise, this is darker, thicker. This is runnier, lighter. So I want something runnier and lighter for this first layer. And that's what I'm going to use. So make sure it's not too thick. And you can actually add as much water as you want for this one. And I am going to somewhat use my first memory drawing and my field drawing in order for me to draw a silhouette. So I'm going to actually do a silhouette. Self-portrait. And what I am doing is just adding my head, my ears, the shape of my haircut, going right into my earlobes here and my cheek. And this gets tricky because my kids remind me all the time about my chin and my neck. So we do that. And this one happens to be a little bit thicker. It's okay. And in this case, you actually could leave some white, but for this exercise, we're just going to go ahead and do an entire full silhouette. So you could kind of recognize the person almost like, oh, I know who that is. And then I'm just going to add my shoulders, my shoulder line. And a lot of people have always told me, yeah, you have kind of like a football player neck. I know, I see it. I did. I used to play football. So there we have it. Now that's, some may say, hey, don't really see it. I think I do. That could be a good silhouette. So there's lots of techniques to understand and describe silhouettes. The contour drawing, like we did earlier, actually is one way to help it, and then you just color it in. So I want to wait for this to dry a little bit. Dry just a little bit. Because if I were to bring in pigment right now, this is so wet, it would go wet on wet. And what I am going to do is just add just some features where I know, for example, the shadows in my eyes are going to be. So notice how it's really just spreading out. The thinner it is, the drier it is, And I'm going to add a little shadow under my nose and a little bit right here under my chin. And you could just play with this and have all different types of light and shadow. I could bring in just a little bit for the corners of my mouth. And a little bit, just a line for lip. So if you bring a little quality of ink over these washes, what would you do? Would you go back to memory drawing or would you go over feel drawing? So I want you to spend, again, I'm going to call this maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And I don't mean to rush you, but just work in an area where you can actually see how it would work best for you. So another area of exploration would be to do this, to bring out a mirror and to actually have a mirror and begin to explore while you're actually looking at the subject, which is what we're going to do in our next drawing. But for now, exploring some of the line qualities as you work from a wash, I could actually go right into my, and I should show you this. So as I do a little bit of field drawing, I'm actually doing kind of 50-50 blind. So I'm doing a little bit of, it's not all memory because I'm actually touching, feeling. So I love this exercise. And as I feel, I'm actually looking so I can actually begin to control, but I really want to take hold of who's drawing. Am I actually really sticking to the way I actually feel it? Or am I beginning to just draw like I usually do, where I kind of, in a sense, make up information, going back to memory? Or can I begin to interpret in somehow a different way, using a little bit of both? And so I am not using a mirror, a reference here, except for the feel. Started with the nose, begin to add some value. And just a little more intentional, because it's not 100% blind. I can actually have more control over the proportions as well. So the quality of some of these lines can change a little, but you're going to analyze, does it change for the better? Can I do a little bit more blind? And I guess I could, and actually get a feel and trust that the lines are actually working out the way I would want them to show. Because in the end, it's about quality of line, how I can control and manage, and how much line do I need? Because we saw in some beautiful samples, some of you had these beautiful field drawings that were, in a way, kind of economy of line. They had this very, I don't want to say simplistic, but efficient use of line. And sometimes you just go, again, to what would you call this drawing, where it's not memory, or in a way, kind of, it always is memory. And that's for you to interpret how much of it is memory, how much of it is feel, how much of it is interpretation from looking at a reference. And then, how am I trying to describe my subject? And what is the optimal way, the most efficient way to do that? So notice I stopped the feel. I went more into a memory. As we move forward, kind of going right back into contour drawing like we did early on in that first memory drawing. I actually love some of this wash that has texture in it. As I added water and paper towel, it actually starts working, and you use some of that wash as part of your drawing. So all of these things, how you use creativity to begin to apply what's already there and how much more I need to push, and what I call the balance between line and color. In this case, the color is a wash. I don't think I'll be bringing in much color. You could take this with an extra layer now that you have more line. And one interesting way would be to just bring a little bit of extra color for some reason. I just want to add a little extra color right here. Just to add a little contrast, a little pop. I'm adding it right here to the area of the glasses. And there we have it. Maybe just a touch over here, the lips.